Baker Mayfield. He reminds me of a shorter version of Brett Favre. He can throw it. He's very confident. He's not afraid whatsoever.
Another guy that isn't getting nearly as much attention as I believe he should be is Florida International receiver T.Y. Hilton. 6 returns over his career, combining kick and punt returns for touchdowns.
He has the mindset, and he has the intelligence, and he understands the offense to a T. Kirk's our quarterback. We could have done a deal right then and got it for long term and been a slam dunk.
Sam is a good football player. The problem is he's not a great football player, and we're bringing so much attention to a guy that, frankly, is a day 3 prospect.
And now, the Instinctive Scouting Podcast, featuring 2-time NFL General Manager Scott McLuhan and NFLDraftScout.com Senior Analyst Rob Rang.
Hi, and welcome to the Instinctive Scouting Podcast, also known as the ISP. I'm your host, Rob Rang, and in just a second, you're going to hear from the real star of the program, former NFL General Manager and current scouting consultant to multiple NFL teams, Scott McLuhan, who has agreed to join me here each week to break down the biggest names and games in college and pro football with an eye always towards the NFL draft. Well, it's first quarter, Scott, or as the Seahawks head coach out here, Pete Carroll, likes to say, the first phase. And I know it's crazy to think about the idea that we're already a quarter of the way through the NFL's regular season, but yet here we are. So let's talk about some impressions made over the first phase of the NFL's regular season. And in my mind, the big storyline has to be Kansas City Chiefs young quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who, at least in my mind right now, is the early MVP favorite. What are your thoughts on Mahomes? And are there any other players or teams out there that have really captured your attention to this point?
In Kansas City, being 4-0, that's tough to do. Put you in a great spot. You got a lot of football left. You know, it's like I tell, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But certainly, honestly, from the standpoint of him, he's really a rookie. You know, he played 1 game last year.
Yeah.
You know, and it comes in here, of course, now he's a starter and Alex moves on. But to see his composure and to see him putting the numbers up he's putting up, you know, not just the touchdowns, but the throws he's making.
Yeah.
You know, Denver's not an easy place to play at.
No.
Last night, you know, not at all. And he wasn't phased. You know, it was really interesting to watch because there's a chance I thought he might, you know, hit the wall, but he didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and he's taken every snap. He's won 4 games out of 4, and very impressive. You know, and Andy Reid does a great job of play calling, and I think you saw it last night.
Yeah.
But also, the kid has to make his own plays. You know, you can call the right play, but still, you got to get the snap. You got to read the coverage. You got to read the pass pressure, and then you got to make the play. And he did it. And you know, brought him back in the 4th quarter, and you know that was impressive. I'm really impressed with what he's done. I'm impressed with all these young quarterbacks, but him more so than anybody right now, just because how good he's playing.
Yeah, and I'll kind of touch on Mahomes as well, and then start asking you about some of the other players, young quarterbacks you mentioned. We'll definitely be talking about that. I think with Mahomes, what was just so impressive to me is just how different that the offense that Andy Reid is asking him to play in is compared to what he ran at Texas Tech. You know, with Cliff Kingsbury, obviously was a quarterback under Mike Leach, that air raid system. And, we talked about this in a previous episode, but it really is impressive we've all heard about the arm strength by now. We've all, thought about the fact that as the son of Patrick Mahomes Sr., that his father played Major League Baseball, so we know that there's there's going to be a little bit more of an understanding of what it takes to be a professional athlete. But just to see the poise, as you mentioned, the ability to kind of, on the fly, switch his hands and kind of shot put the ball with his left hand on the one route where he's basically outrunning Von Miller. I mean, it's those types of natural playmaking skills that has really been impressive in my mind so far with Mahomes, as well as obviously the passing touchdowns and the fact that as you mentioned, that the Chiefs are 4-0 at this point.
Yeah, the thing is, Rob, that's really cool about him, you can't teach it, I know for a fact, is his accuracy outside the pocket.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, because You can work on it and work on all you want in practice. It's totally different in a game situation. Because like you said, you got Von Miller chasing. He knew it.
Yep.
You could feel him coming down his backside. But in that throw was different. I mean, he threw left-handed. I understand that. It's a great play. Got him first down. But his accuracy outside the pocket is very unique. Very unique. You know, because he's under duress. And he knows it. But still, he keeps his eyes downfield, and he still makes the play.
Well, exactly, and it's been phenomenal so far. And I think that, you know, certainly if you want to, you know, do a tip of the cap to, to John Dorsey or, you know, the current staff in Kansas City. I mean, for putting the talent around him, I think that is absolutely deserved. I mean, it's a lot easier to play quarterback when you have a receiver like Tyreek Hill who can spread the field. You have a tight end who's going to go right down the middle the way that Travis Kelce does. You have a running game, the way that the Chiefs have with Kareem Hunt. All of those things are certainly. But you talked about it, and the fact that he could feel Von Miller coming and the accuracy on the move. And I'm a big believer in you know, trying to assess where the NFL is going and find the players that fit that scheme. And I personally believe that we're going to continue to see more smaller edge rushers, and everybody's going to be aggressive to try and get the ball out of the quarterback's hands so quickly. So I think that accuracy on the move is more important in today's NFL than it ever was before. And, you know, we're seeing with the run pass options and things like that, it's so much more off script that you're asking quarterbacks to play in today's NFL, at least in my opinion. And so that's where I think that it's been impressive how he's excelled, because that is so different than what he was asked to do normally at Texas Tech.
Right.
Was there other players that jumped, or teams that have jumped out at you so far that you've just really been impressed with? I know you mentioned some of the young quarterbacks, and obviously there's a lot of rookies that we could talk a lot about.
You know, the thing about it, I went out to California to see my son play this weekend, so I went to the Browns-Raider game.
Nice.
And, and seeing, you know, Baker, you know, I know they lost. I know he threw some picks. But his composure, too. These kids are playing – not kids. They're adults, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they're 22, 23 years old. But they're new to the NFL.
Yeah.
And these D coordinators are getting tape on them now and starting to identify what they can and can't do. But he's the same way as Mahomes is, from the standpoint that they don't get rattled. You know, it's like they've been for 4 or 5 years, you know, and they're in bad situations, tough situations, you know, both on the road, you know, in the fourth quarter and trying to win a game. And to see the composure, you know, and I love Alex Smith to death, but he was never that way as a rookie, not even close, you know. And be thrown in the fire, it was so unique. And they're both going to be really good players for a long time, really good players. Like you said, it's the talent around them helps out. But still, they have to make the play. You know, I was impressed with Derek Carr from the standpoint that he struggled the first half big time. They were down 14 points at one point.
Yeah,
he stayed in there, you know, and kept competing and made some nice throws. You know, scored some touchdowns and won the game for him. It went to overtime, of course, but you know, won the game for him. You know, I think, you know, it's going to be interesting when it's all said and done. Because Amendola's coming back for New England.
Yep.
And to see how that thing changes, the dynamic of that team changes. Because, you know, they can go away right now. I understand Brady's Brady, and that's a given. But it'll be interesting how it affects that offense. Really interesting.
No,
you know, and of course, Bell's coming back apparently week 7, week 8, whatever that's worth. But you know, you need your good players, you know, and injuries are starting to pile up, you know, and you need to win now, you know, so you can just take yourself on cruise control, you know, and get to the playoffs. But it's been exciting to see. I've been amazed, Rob, how many points have been scored. Amazed.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I've been amazed, but also kind of heartbroken by how many points are being scored. I mean, they're taking the NFL that I loved, and you know, and I believe that you loved him, because you and I have always kind of had more of a defensive mentality. We want tough guys. We want the slugfest kind of games. I mean, for my money, the old school Seahawks 49ers games, in college football, Alabama, LSU, that's football to me. This stuff, this basketball on turf stuff, I mean, maybe that's not like the old man get off my lawn kind of a thing, but I'm on the one hand, I am just absolutely floored by just how talented quarterbacks are now, their ability to just put the ball 40, 50 yards down the field and just, in such incredible ball placement. And then just the complexity of the offenses and the play calling now. I mean, what some of these teams are doing, it looks like, it's basically incredible art. And then you see other teams right now, I think, are a little bit more kind of child's play finger painting, kindergarten stuff. I mean, I still believe in running the ball down a team's throat and playing big physical defense. But, the reality is the teams that are winning right now are the teams that are being a little bit more creative, as far as offensively, especially, and have the young talent at the quarterback position, especially as well. So it is fascinating to see how the points are just exploding across the NFL. And so I didn't mean to cut you off there. I mean, am I articulating that okay? Is that how you feel, or do you feel?
Yeah. No, you're right. The thing about it is, it's like back in the day with McGuire and Sammy Sosa.
Exactly.
Bianca.
Yeah.
The fans want to see home runs.
Yeah.
In football, the fans want to see points. And, the league office I respect. I really do. I know it's a tough job all the people have in the league office. But the game's predicated now on offense.
Yep.
And they want the points. They want the seats filled. Yeah. They want to see they want to see the money coming in. They want to see points on the board. And, not saying the refs or biased defense compared to offense, but with the new rules, with the helmet to helmet, with the roughing the passer, with pass interference, you can take shots, and you can get hit and throw a pick, and they're going to call roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Which I understand when a penalty is a penalty. I've seen this enough. You've seen it enough. But when it's not a penalty and a guy's making a football play and all of a sudden they get banged 15 yards on 3rd and 8. Yeah. So now it's first down. So now they're moving the ball. So, I mean, it is what it is. The game's changed. I'm with you. I'm old school. I want rock 'em, sock 'em defense, just to sit there and just knock your teeth out. And I want to see between the tackles downhill runs.
Yeah.
But it's changed so much because the more opportunity you have with a ball in your hand, getting outside the pocket, like we see with Mahomes, like we see with Baker, like we see with Russell, is the fact that it gives more time for penalty to be called. A holding call, a pass interference call, a roughing the passer call, or a helmet to helmet call. And the offense coordinators know that, and the defense coordinators are like, okay, what do we do? I want my guys to be aggressive, but don't be too aggressive. But that's not the NFL. That's not college football. That's football. You have to be aggressive. It's a grown man's game. It's a contact game. And, I understand there's penalties every week, certain things, but the longer the quarterback keeps the ball in his hand, the better chance, because all the receivers do is start scrambling back and forth, and the DBs can only cover for so long, so they're grabbing, pushing, and then boom, next thing you know, it's a first down, and then it's on to the next play, it's on to the next first down, so I'm not sitting on a soapbox here, but the game's changed. It really has.
Well, and it's changed so quickly, in the last couple of years. I mean, it's like the league office has kind of agreed that, as you and I just said about that, the people want to see points. And so I think it's the rules are changing a little bit, but I also think I think it's too simple just to say the rules. I don't think that's giving the players and the coaches and the ingenuity of some of these schemes enough credit. I think that they're changing, they're adapting, and the NFL has changed as well. And I think it makes for a more entertaining product, on TV. And so I think, and that's obviously what is stirring the pot. At this point, it's just the fact they are scoring so many points.